I'm a faculty of Indian Statistical Institute, Bangalore. So my research areas actually confined to machine learning, pattern recognition, and I can apply these tools anywhere, wherever you want. I have collaborators like electrical engineering, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, metallurgy engineering, computer science. Every domain we have a applications, and that's what for that reason I am here today. So I'll try to justify the applications of some of the tools on your particular area, smart grid operations, and I'll not talk much about the domain part. I'll just talk about the tool parts, the technique parts. So uh, the topic what I had given was the granular neural network for smart grid operations. So I thought before going to that granular neural network part, let me talk something about the granular computing, where from it started. And my voice is clearly audible, right?
Yes, 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 very much.
So if time permits, then I'll show some slides on granular neural network. It's a one kind of neural network which is highly applicable to your domain, smart grid operations. Because to my understanding, although I don't belong to your domain, but I understand that these smart grid operations requires very fast operations. Like it doesn't compromise with the time factor, lagging factors. Okay. So for that reason, this granular neural network is very much highly helpful for this smart grid operations. That I'll show you some of the slides. I don't have any applications of this granular computing or granular neural network on smart grid operations, but I have application of that tools on some other domain. So I can show you, and I can also tell how fast that processing is and how it is useful for a operations like smart grid. Okay. So this is what the outline of the talk, but let us not confine to this one. We can go whatever the way we like. Okay. So based on our understanding and movements, we can move here and there without following the outlines of granular computing. So this is what this basic backgrounds of what you call as a smart grid. So what is actually a smart grid or electrical smart grid? Answer is sometimes we used to say, as a layman point of view, electricity network in evolutions. Okay. So it's something like that. Some of the points which we all know, and I just want to put it here just to make this process complete. So something like grid ecosystem players have various challenges in the decentralizations of the energy productions. So basic motivation of the smart grid is to decentralize the whole process. We all know. Okay, I'm just refreshing that one. It's nothing new here. So in smart grid, self-healing capabilities. That means it can rectify itself. The process can rectify itself. Okay. So it is something like that. We call it is a kind of normal scenario, fault tolerant. Okay. If there is a fault, it will rectify it by itself. Like the way our human brain works. You all understand, right? How our human brain works. So if there is some problem is there, if that problem occurs today, after some days, again that solution comes back. That means it could heal itself. Okay, so that is what we call it as self-healing capabilities, and our brain can do that decisions process in a very efficient way. Okay, so that kind of systems we require here in smart grid operations. Centralizing power generations, including the giving and decentralized, is must here, and so many things, other things are there. Let me not go to that domain part. You all are aware of that one better than me. So this is what the expectation from smart grid.
Sir, sorry for the interruption. Can you make it, sir, full screen?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. So it's just a small introduction. You all know that. So there is nothing new. Just to complete the process, I am just showing this one. So what was yesterday and what is tomorrow and what is going to be the in futures. Okay. In production systems, in marketing, in transmissions, in distributions, in consumer. Like productions, earlier it was kind of few larger power plants. Now many small power plants are there. How to organize them? How to make a proper coordinations among them? So that is what the purpose of the smart grid. Okay. So earlier it was something like centralized one. Everything was happening from the center, and we all were receiving that one. So that was having some kind of issues. So what is the purpose of, what is the expectation of smart grid is that we want to make it decentralized, ignoring the boundaries. Okay, the geographical mapping of boundaries, we want to ignore that. Then coming to the transmissions, it was coming from one source, now it is coming from multiple sources. Again, distributions, one way, it's a kind of one-way traffic. Okay, so it was distributing and we are receiving. Now it will be in both directions. And in the consumer point of view, it was passive, like we are receiving and we are paying for that what we are receiving. But now we want to be more active and participate in the systems. So these are all a small expectations, not small, a kind of expectation from the smart grid operations, and that is what we want to achieve here. Okay, so the basic techniques used in smart grid is generation, transmission, distribution, and consumer. You all know that. I don't need to talk about all these things. Okay, just to show you. So the smart grid operation focuses on 4 basic areas: generation, transmission, distribution, and consumer. Okay, fine. The typical component of smart grid systems are smart power meters, smart substations, smart distributions, and smart generations. Excuse me. Just one second. Okay. So the typical components of smart grid systems are smart power meters, smart substations, distributions, and generations. Okay. So we have been talking about smart everywhere, right? So actually, what is it? The smart grid also use a word smart here, okay, which is different from grid. Okay. Now, what is that smart, or what is that smartness? Normally, the smartness comes from the intelligence. I hope you are understanding what is the meaning of smartness. Let us, time being, keep aside our domain part. Let us go to this technique part. Okay. So we understand that smart grid is must requirement for us. We expect and we want the system to be much more smarter. That means our grid systems, our power systems, our power distribution systems, or whatever it is, we expect it should be a smart one. That's why we call it a smart grid. Okay. So what is that smartness here? What do we mean by smartness in grid system? So it is something like that. We human being all use this word many often, right? We say that you are a smart boy, you are a smart girl, and sometimes we say that that boy is more smarter than that boy. We used to tell like that, right? But what does it mean? In what context we tell those things? And what is the intention of telling that? What do we want to convey that information? Actually, we want to convey the information with respect to intelligence. Now, what is the quantification of smartness then again? If I say somebody is smarter, if I say this person is more smarter than the other person, how do I quantify them? So we take the help of intelligence here. The way I tell that one person is smarter than another person, I can also say that one person is intelligent than the other person. But again, the same problem comes here, the problem of quantifications. How do we quantify the intelligence factor? In a very easy way, in a very convenient way, in a very layman point of view. How do we quantify that? So what do we do that? We take the help of term called decision. So the intelligence in terms of taking decisions. I hope now you are understanding what is the meaning of decisions. Decision means what? Given a task, you are giving the answer or the solution. That is what is decisions. Let us say I am asking, have you taken your breakfast? Have you taken your breakfast? This is my questions. So what will be your decisions? Yes, I have taken. The answers to the solution is the decisions. Now, how do this decision factor related to intelligence and smartness? So it is something like that. When I say a person X is more intelligent than the other person, or a person A is more smarter than the other person, there is a comparison actually I am doing, that this person has better ability, better smartness than the other person. So if I want to mix, or if I want to take the help of term decisions, probably I will be in a comfortable zone to quantify that intelligence or smartness term. What is that? The person who can provide the better decision, I can say that that person is more intelligent than the other person. Does it make sense? I hope this makes sense to say that one person is more intelligent than the other person. So given the same task to the two different people and expecting the answer from them, whichever decision is the most appropriate one, most accurate one, I would say that person is more intelligent than the other person. I hope this makes sense, and this is one way to quantify the intelligence factor. In the same way, I can say better is the decision, better is the intelligence factor, and better is the intelligence, better is the smartness. So the smart grid is nothing but the decision factor is more efficient here. Whatever decision this grid systems or power systems or automated systems is taking, that is smart, that is intelligent. That means the decision taking abilities is enhanced here. It is taking a better decision than the earlier one. So that is why we use a term called smart. So smart grid. I hope you are convinced now. Okay. So now, who is going to take the decisions? That is what our target of discussion today is. Okay. So we finally boil down to the term decisions. Now, these decisions, actually, what is it? Given a questions, getting answer is the decisions. Okay. So who is posing the questions and who is answering them? Fine. So it is actually related to a pattern recognition systems. This decision taking process actually related to a pattern recognition systems. I don't know whether you have come across this particular system that is called pattern recognition systems, but I'll try to tell something on this little bit, then I'll just go to that granular part. Okay. So now by the time you might have understood that what is the meaning of a decisions. Okay. Given a task, providing solution is the decisions. And what is a good decisions? Which is more appropriate answer, that is the good decisions. Okay. Now, whenever there is a question, whenever there is a process of decision making process, there we use some kind of system that is called pattern recognition systems. The moment something or somebody is taking decision, you have to, ascertain that, you have to assure that some pattern recognition system is working behind that in taking decisions. Let us say, for example, we all are human brains, right? We all are human beings, and we have one brain in our head. Okay. So when let us say I am the person who is posing the questions, and you are the person who is answering the question. So I am asking some questions, and your brain is answering that. Your brain is answering that questions. Okay. Now, do you think that your brain, without following any procedures, without following any principles, it is providing the answer? Do you think like that? No. It is following certain process. It is following certain procedures, some principles. What is that principle? That is the step-by-step processing of the questions. Whatever questions I am posing, that question is getting analyzed by the system, processed it, and then on that processing, it is taking a decisions. But our brain quickly take a decisions on the given problem. Don't think that our brain, without doing anything, providing a solutions. No, it is following certain principles. That is called pattern recognition systems. Okay. Now, a small thing. What do you think that how our pattern recognition system in our brain works? Now tell me, let us say if I'm asking, you tell me an instant when you are not taking a decision. If I'm asking a question to all of you, tell me an instant in your life when you are not taking a decisions. Starting from morning, getting up from the bed to again going back to the bed, tell me an instant when you are not taking a decisions. I believe after understanding this part, you can easily understand the pattern recognition systems. So can you tell me an instant when you are not taking a decisions? I believe your answers will be no. Okay. So, yeah. So I believe your answers will be no there. Why your answer is no there? Because you cannot tell the instant when you are not taking a decisions. Then you may ask, what kind of decision I am taking just now? You are sitting there, that is your decisions. I am sitting here, this is my decisions. You are listening, your decisions. I am speaking, my decisions. We are in a similar platform, it is our decisions. We are taking decisions, right? So whatever you are doing in every moment, it's your decisions. And behind that decision, one system works in your brain, and that is called pattern recognition systems. Now, what I am trying to say is that here, assume that your brain is a machine, and that machine I am putting in this smart grid operation. That machine I am putting in your smart grid operations. So that means whatever inputs are going to the smart grid operations, automatically one pattern recognition systems are working behind that, and a decision is coming out. So all the things are happening automatically. So that is why we call this grid system as a smart one. I believe you are understanding of the process. Okay. So now let us go back to this PRS or pattern recognition system, or what it actually is. Okay. Then I'll go to the granular part. So it follows 3 steps of operations: measurement space, feature space, and decision space. Okay. So given a task here at the leftmost side, so your system actually measure that. Okay. Measurement is nothing but extracting informations about the input. Okay. After that, it goes to the feature space where it manipulates the values or the informations. Once that is done, then at the end, you will have a decision space where your decisions is coming out, and your decision is coming out at the right hand side. This is what a pattern recognition system, which every decision making process or decision making systems uses, follows. Even your smart grid operations are also following the same pattern recognition systems in the behind. Okay, and that's why it is giving a decisions which is a smart systems. Okay. Now now just try to recall, remember this particular slide. Then I'll come back to this slide again once I cover that granular part. Okay. Now we'll talk about a tool which is taking a smart decisions. Okay. And now we are coming to the granular computing. Fine. So let me start this granular computing persons with examples. Okay. Just one second. Okay. So what is that granular computing is all about? Let us say I am planning to travel from here to my friend, let us say to my friend in Meghalaya, to Professor Panda, and before traveling, what I'll do? I mean, this is a common scenario, right? Then I'll make a phone call to him and I'll ask, please tell what is the weather conditions there. Because before travel, I have to make my mind. I have to set my mind accordingly. I will act that one. Okay. So before traveling, I will make a call and I'll try to understand what is the weather conditions, so that I will prepare mentally and physically to stay there for some time and come back comfortably. That is what we all do, right? So try to understand what kind of terminology I am using here. So I am asking what is the weather condition. Okay. So from the other end, my friend is telling the answer like this: yes, it is cloudy, little bit sunny and rainy. Okay. Now, if I am happy, it's okay. If I am not happy with the answers, What shall I ask? No, tell me a little bit more precise weather conditions. Then the answers may come like this from my friend. Oh, okay, in the daytime it is at this point of time it is cloudy. After evening time, little bit cold, and again night it is again further the cold factor increases, and morning it comes fine. Assume that I am not still happy with the answer. So I'll ask, okay, friend, tell me the exact temperature in different time instance of the day, like morning, what is the temperature? Afternoon, what is the temperature? Evening, what is the temperature? And night, what is the temperature? Then my friend will answer, yes, morning, this is the temperature. Afternoon, this is the temperature. Evening, this is the temperature. Night at the temperature. So you got the scenario? Now try to understand what actually I am trying to say here. I asked 3 questions. First question was, what is the weather condition? Second question was, what is the little bit more exact information about the weather condition? And the third question was, more precise informations. I could have asked directly, you tell me what is the temperature at the daytime, or what is the temperature in the night time. But what would have happened had I asked that what is the temperature at this point of time? That means I wanted to know about the weather conditions from the high level information to low level information. Let us say, when I am asking what is the weather conditions in that particular place, what is the meaning here questions? Is it not a vague questions? Weather condition, what does it mean? That means my question itself is not clear. So obviously my friend from the other end is answering exactly the way I was expecting. Yes, it is cloudy daytime. Now, what does it mean? What do you mean by cloudy weather? Is it a quantified value? No. So if I'm happy with that answer, okay, I'll stop my question answer session. Now, if I'm not happy, what I'll do? I'll just ask little bit more precise question. Still, if I'm not happy, I'll ask much more precise question, that is exactly what is the temperature. So this is the process normally we human being follows. No, try to understand what is the scenario. If I'm asking the question, what is the weather condition, and if my friend is telling that morning this is the temperature, evening this is the temperature, night this is the temperature, what would have happened? I am asking weather condition, but my friend is giving the answer the exact temperature value. Now, which one is easier for my friend? Telling cloudy weather is easier, or telling the exact temperature is the easier one? You're getting my point? So obviously, my friend would have spent more time and money in providing the exact information, that is the temperature. He doesn't need to spend his time by telling that this is a cloudy weather. So the message what I am trying to say here is that when my problem doesn't require the precise informations, precise answers, why my answer is becoming precise? So according to the requirement, I'll spend my energy and provide the informations. If the question doesn't require the precise answer, why shall I spend my time to provide the exact informations? That is what the meaning of the particular examples. And this example actually a part of the granular computing concept. Granular computing also works in this way. In granular computing scenarios, it will try to understand what your problem is asking. Does it ask a specific answer, a specific question, or a overall questions? If it is asking overall questions, why shall I spend time to provide the exact one? Okay. So let me give you one more example. We all are faculties, right? And we know how to write a technical paper. So what do we do actually while writing a technical paper or technical writings? So what do we do? That we follow certain procedures. we try to move from high level information to low level information. Okay, so let me put this example in a other way, in a decision making process. Let us say you are not writing the paper, but you are going to review a paper. Let us say some publisher is sending some paper and telling you, would you like to review my paper which was submitted by some author? So this is the questions. Okay. Now, as a reviewer, what will be your answer? Yes or no? So to provide the decision yes or no, what you will do? You cannot, you don't say yes or no as a decision just blindly after getting the mail. What you will do? You will try to check what is that paper is all about. The overall theme of that paper. So we call it a high level information. High level information means more extracted information. Okay. So after seeing that, let us say you are not coming to the decisions, should I review or not review? Yes or no? So what you will do then? Then you will go to the title of the paper. You read the title. Now after reading the title, you are still unable to provide the answer yes or no. So what you will do? Then you will just read the abstract of the paper. If you are still not able to provide the answer yes or no, then what you will do? You will just go to the different sections of the paper. If you are still unable to provide the answers, then what you will do? You will go to the lowest level information, that is the text. That means you will read the whole paper and then you will answer your publishers whether you would like to review the paper or not. Now, what actually you are doing in these whole scenarios? You are going from high level information to low level information. High level information is the title and low level information is the text. So to get the decision yes or no, you started from the title to the text, high level to the low level. Let us say you are getting your answer at the title level itself. Let us say you are getting your answer yes or no at the title level itself. So you don't need to the text level to provide the decision. Now tell me, providing the decision by seeing the title is more difficult or by reading the text is more difficult? Difficult in the sense spending time and money. In which case you have to spend more time by reading the text. That means low level information. By reading the title, you may not spend much time to provide the decisions. This is what the granular concept is all about. This follows certain granularity. At different stages, at different level, you are granulating the informations. You are breaking the informations from high level to middle level to low level, and then you are providing the solution. This is what the concept behind granular computing. So again, when it is required, you stop there, processing, and provide the decisions. So if you are getting the decision at the high level, don't go to the middle level or don't go to the low level, because low level processing requires more time. So it is very easy to provide the decision at the high level information, but most of the problems we may not get the answer at the high level information. So what we do is that we keep on going middle level, low level, lowest level to provide the decisions. Okay, so this is what we call it as a granularity level. In some other way, if I want to explain this granular concept, it is something like this. Let us say I'm giving a problem to you to solve that. Okay, so I'm giving a problem all of you to solve that. Let us say person A told that this problem is not understood to me. I could not understand the problem. Person B is telling, yes, I could understand the problem. Okay, so for the person A, the problem will be an easier problem, but for the person B, the problem becomes a big problem because that person could not understand the problem. Understanding the problem means trying to understand what the question is asking for. So person A can provide the decision at the higher level information, whereas person B can provide the information not at the higher level but at the lower level. So what that person B will do? that whole problem, that problem will be broken into sub-problems. That means high-level informations are partitioned into middle-level informations. Big problem is partitioned into sub-problems. Still, if you are unable to understand that problem, then you break that problem further down, the smallest possible component of that problem. Now it will be easier for you to understand the problem, and you can provide the same decisions, whatever the person A is giving. So what is that concept is all about? Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. You all know, right? The Britishers ruled us more than 200 years using the same concept, divide and conquer. Yes or no? So this granular concept is based on that one. If the problem is not understood, break it into sub-problems. Break it further sub-problems. That means divide the problem and conquer it. That means provide the solutions. Okay. So this is how a granular concept works. Okay. So the same thing, one more example in image processing and all the things. So don't think that these are all related to image processing, pattern recognition, and all the things. These are all related to your smart grid operations. In your smart grid also, a machine is there which acting like the brain in your head. Okay. Whatever a brain is having or working in your head, the same thing is working in your grid system. A machine is there in the gridding systems. So some inputs are coming to the gridding systems, and once the inputs are coming, your grid systems, which is actually called as a smart one, it takes the decision on that input. Now, how that gridding system takes the decisions, that is what we are just now talking about. Okay. So what is the motivations here? There are two things are there in the granular computing. One is need for information abstraction and knowledge of abstractions level. The meaning here is that, as I told you, right, just showing an example, this paper writing from high level to low level. Okay. So in the high level, what is that? That is title. Next higher level is abstract. I believe you are understanding the meaning of title, abstract, chapter, and text, because you all are writing papers, technical papers, or technical writing, any technical writing. Okay. So we call it as a what is the meaning of the title of a paper? This is the most compressed version of the informations that is there in your whole paper. If you compress the whole paper, that becomes your title. So it is more abstract form. That's why we call it a high level information. Sometimes we may understand the paper theme or what is there inside the paper just by reading the title. Sometimes we may not understand what is there inside the paper. So what do? We just go to the abstract. Then what is the abstract then? Abstract is the next expanded version of the title. Then introduction, chapter, subsection, sections are further uncompressed version of the abstract. So text is the most uncompressed version of the informations. So what actually I am trying to say is that this level, high, middle, and low, these are called the granularity level. High level granularity, middle level granularity, and low level granularity. And the informations within that granularity, that is the title, abstract in high level, in middle level, chapter, sections, subsections, and the low level text. These are all the component of informations in that granularity, and we are using a term called granule here. Granule is nothing but it's a set of informations which behaves similarly. So that's why we are calling it a granule, a small component of informations. Okay. So your granular computing works on these two particular terminologies. One is granule and another one is granularity. That is need for information abstraction and knowledge of abstractions level. Okay. And obviously it's a granular computing is a kind of umbrella term, and the theory, methodologies, techniques, tool that makes use of granule is the problem solving granular computing, and processing and performing computations and operations on the granular. This is what the granular computing is all about. Okay. So the basic component of the granular computing is granules, granulated views, and hierarchies. I believe you are understanding what is a granular, granulated views. Okay. And the basic structures is internal structure of a granule, how a small component looks like, collective structure of a granulated view, that means a family of granules, and overall structure of a family of granulated views. These are the basic structures. Okay. This granular computing concept actually is not a new concept. It's the oldest, old concept you can think about. I believe you are understanding what is a fuzzy set theory and drop set theory is all about. And this granular concept actually has come from the fuzzy set theory. That means started from 1965, the granular concept was there, but it was not gaining much popularity in that period, although it was there. But with the invention or with the coming of the drop set theory in 1982, the granular concept came up very fast and people accepted that concept. And finally, they started using that concept in the decision-making process so that they can make the decision-making process more and more smarter. So that is why we are talking about these things here. Okay, so I'll just quickly go through this fuzzy set and drop set. You all know that fuzzy set and drop set, so I don't spend much time on that one because my purpose here is to provide a particular concept of granular computing, not the exact tool what actually it is using. Okay, so fuzzy set and drop set, you all know that one, and sometimes you might have come across in mathematics that is called interval analysis. So these are all granular concepts. That's why it started from 1956, 1965, and again 1982, which is the era of drop set theory. Okay. So granular computing is something like diversity of formal environment. How you are looking at your informations, whether you are looking at the information at the higher level or the lower level. So this kind of informations granulations you do everywhere, almost. Okay. Just 1 second, just 1 second. Somebody is calling me. Just one. So whether to test it. Just give me 2 minutes. Just give me 2 minutes.
ଘରେ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରୋଲ ଟି ବୋଲି କରୁଥିଲି ମୁଁ ବି ତ ଏଟା କଲି ଯେ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି ସେଭ୍ ଲେଖା ହେଇଥିଲା ଘରେ କଣ ସବମିଟ୍ ଯାଉନି ଦୁଇଟା ପେଜ ଅଛି टाइम नहीं सबमिट करवा लाए ଅଛି
तो आंसर भूल नहीं देता गाइस राउंड कर
यार हे साला टाइम
I'm sorry. So the granular concept is there in almost all this particular. My voice is audible to all of you. Hello?
Yes, sir, it's audible, sir.
I'm sorry for this mistake. So it is there everywhere. We all do the granular concept in our day-to-day activities or many mathematical processings like probabilistic granules, fuzzy sets, rough sets, shadow sets, set theory. In a set theory, we call it as a high-level set, and subset is a small set or small granules. Okay, so this is how it happens, and the roadmap is something like this. Just I'm skipping this one. So the main driving force for granular computing is fuzzy set and rough set. So it's actually a concept. Okay, it's actually a concept which you incorporate in different domain. Okay, if we incorporate that granular concept, something like in wavelet transform, let us say, then we call it a wavelet granules. If we incorporate those things in neural network, then we call it a granular neural network. That is what actually I was trying to tell. Okay. So if you incorporate that in fuzzy set, then we call it a fuzzy granule. If we incorporate that in the rough set, we call it a rough set granule or rough granule. Okay. So it's a concept. So you have to understand that one, how it is helpful for taking a smart decisions. Okay. So the basic idea and principle of granular computing has appeared in many fields, in machine learning, data mining, cluster analysis, interval analysis, artificial intelligence, and all the things. Okay. I'm just keeping this one as quickly as possible. So granular computing is nothing but it's a problem solving based on different level of granularity. Okay, details or abstractions. At different level, we are extracting the information and taking the decisions. Now you can understand high level information we call it a big granule. Small level information we call it a small granule. Okay, so big problem, small problem, big set, small set. So like that you need to understand what is the meaning of granularity. But this is a very tricky issue here. How do I break the informations? Whether big informations will be broken into 2 part or 5 part or 10 part or 20 part, that we don't know. In what way we should break the problem into sub-problem so that that sub-problem will be understood to us. So that is not known to us. So what we do, we blindly do all this processing and try to achieve a better accuracy. Okay. So what we do is that we try to attempt to capture the basic principles and methodology used by human in problem solving. Okay, and models human problem solving qualitatively and quantitatively. So what is the philosophy here is that the human knowledge is normally organized in a multiple level of hierarchy. The meaning here is that when a human being is asked a particular questions, that human being provides the solution following the granular concept only. Because at different level of information that persons breaks it, follows the granularity, form the granules, and finally provide the decisions. But we never realize how it is happening in our brain. But it is doing. At different level, we analyze the information and provide that particular solutions. So that is what our brain is doing, but we are not interested on that one. What we are interested, we want to expect all the things, all these processings of a human way of processing the information in a machine, and that machine will be put in your smart grid system, and it will become a smart grid, and it will provide a smart decisions like a human being. Okay, but the problem here is that can we really compute this? Can you really break the information to the possible extent, and whichever information is proper to us, that will pick, and finally we will take a decision on that. So that is what the problem here is all about. Okay, so basically we are talking about the granules, which is nothing but a primitive notions. Okay, so a granule can be interpreted as one of the numerical small particle forming a. So what happens is that if I break the whole big problem into sub problems, there is every possibility is that I may break the information in a very haphazard way, or I may break the information to the smallest unit. Now, what is the difference between the big information and small information? Big information is abstracted form, small information is the expanded form. Now, when you expand the informations, When you expand the informations, there is every possibility that there is introduction of noise and uncertainty or impreciseness there. Now, by doing that one, you will finally confused. You will finally confused. In what way you will confused? In communication engineering, what we understand is that when information is less, there is a problem. When information is more, there is a problem. When information is less, we don't have any option left. When information is very large in number or size, then you will confused what to do and what not to do. So we have to make a balance between them. More information and less information. That is the tricky issue, and that we need to compute. So how we will do that one? Using granular concept and using the offset and fuzzy set, that we'll just discuss here. So when you break the information to big to small, sometimes you realize that after breaking, no, this information has become very small, which is very difficult to understand. So let me do one thing, then merge the informations to similar information. I'll start merging them. So what will happen finally? That small informations, while you will merge them, then it is now understandable to you. So it is not straightforward way of computing that granularity. Okay, so we don't know how to break the informations. In what way we should break the informations? After breaking, whether that information will be a relevant information to us or not, that is also not known to us. So like that, there are several levels of difficulties are there, and we are trying to resolve these issues to the possible extent. Okay. So for these things, two things plays a very important role. One is the shape and another one is the size. Okay. The shape and size of the granule plays important role while breaking the informations. Shape and size means, let me try to put this concept of shape and size of the granule in terms of a image form, so that it will be easier to you to understand that. Okay, let us say you are able to see my mouse movement. Can anyone respond? You are able to see my mouse movement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I don't have any point, another way to point it out, so I'm using my mouse pointer to make you understand. Okay. Now let us say I'm showing this picture. I'm showing this picture and I'm asking you, tell me what this picture is. Actually, I'm asking to your brain. Okay, you tell me what this picture is. Probably you may not able to answer what this picture is. Now what I'll do, I'll just try to expand that information. From here, I'll go to here, and I'm asking you, tell me now what this picture is. Now you are probably in a position to tell that this is the image of a leaf, but that is not the complete answer. Now what I'll do, now instead of telling these things, now I'll expand the information further and I'll show this image. Now you can easily say that yes, this is the image of a leaf, and this leaf belongs to this particular tree, and this is belonging to a particular branch, and all this information you can get once you are here. So this is the expanded information and this is the extracted information. So it depends on how you are breaking that information. So here two things comes into the picture. One is the shape and another one is the size. If this shape and size is not appropriate, your breaking of information will not be appropriate. And if it is not appropriate, you are unable to provide the answers. So two things actually controls the whole process. One is the shape and size. If you can control these two parameters in your granular computing process, you can easily venture and you can provide a better decisions. Okay, so that is what the meaning here. And again, this shape and size can be crisp, it can be fuzzy. You're understanding the difference between crisp and fuzzy. For example, something like this, some images, just one thing I'm skipping. That image is not here. Just 1 second. Somehow I missed that image. That's why. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that okay, let me explain that one with this image. Okay, so you are seeing this image, right? So if I'm asking you partition the image into two parts, you are understanding the meaning of partitioning the image. Okay, you segregate the image or partition the image or cluster the image or segment the image, whatever you say. So you partition the image into two parts. It is same thing to say that you break the whole image into two components. Okay, now these partitions can be crisp, this can be fuzzy. Fuzzy means the boundary of the partitions are overlapping to each other. That is what the meaning of fuzziness here. Okay, so if you make a crisp partitions, then your breaking of informations will be called as crisp granule. If you are using a fuzzy partitions, then your granular component will be called as fuzzy granule. That is what the meaning here is. So just I'll skip all the things. So one can combine many granules into one and decompose granule into many. So that is what I told you. Either you break the granules or merge the granules according to your convenience to provide a better decision. So one can use this size and shape properly so that your information's breaking and merging will be more efficient one. So we use two things for these granulations. One is fuzzy set and another one is rough sets. Okay, so this fuzzy set, rough set, I understand that you have the fair knowledge of these things. So we use rough set and fuzzy set to granulate the informations. Let me give you an examples. Okay, you understand the meaning of fuzzy set theories, right? Fuzzy set theory uses certain membership functions which provides or which characterize the informations in a fuzzy way. Okay, so it uses some membership functions. Now let me put that one in one examples. Let us say I'm asking a person, you tell me your age. You tell me your age. Okay. Now question is asking age. So age is a variable here. So age is a feature here about that person's. Okay. Now age can be expressed in many ways. Age can be expressed in many ways. In the high level informations, in the high level answers, what will be the answers? You may say I am young or I am old or I am adult or I am child. So age is the higher level informations. The next higher level information is, or next level of information is middle age, old age and young age. So what we do, we use some membership function in fuzzy set theory and we partition that age informations into three components. We characterize them into three components. One is middle age, one is old age and one is young age. So that will be one level of breaking the information age. Now if you are not sure about the answer at this point of time, what you will do? You break that information further. So you use another membership functions to break each of the three components, young, middle and old, into further breaking. Like young, you are partitioning them into three components, like less young, moderate young and more young. Less old, moderate old, more old. So this way of breaking that age information is further divided. So first one is age, second one is the middle, is the young, old and child, and third one is the breaking of the child, young and old into further three components. And if you are still in a position to break that information, you know what will be the next level of breaking? Exact age. So which year your birth is, which will give your answer what is the age here. So year of birth is your next level of informations. Now if you are still unable to provide the informations or provide the answers, how do we break further? You tell me the month of the birth. If you are still unable to provide the information, then you tell me the exact date of birth. This is how we provide the informations, and that is where we perform the granularity and form the granule and provide the decisions. And for that, fuzzy set helps us to do that. So it uses different kind of membership function and it breaks the information to the possible extent. Now finally what we are doing here, originally one features age came to the pictures, and we are going to provide the answers based on this feature called age. So feature is one here, one feature. Okay, now this one feature is further broken into sub features. Now you can understand, originally I had one features, now that feature has become 10 features just by breaking into further break. Now what for I am doing all the things to provide more precise and more accurate answers. This is what the granularity is all about. Okay, so so that's why I gave an example of fuzzy set. Like that, you can use rough set theory to break the informations into your convenient steps. Okay, let me not go through the what is rough set and fuzzy set. That is not the purpose of this today's discussion here with you. So that you can understand what is the rough set and fuzzy set. So rough set and fuzzy sets are the two methods or techniques which will help us to granulate the information, to break the information. Okay, now let us come to some decision making process. Okay, okay. Now this slide is visible to all of you. Can anyone respond?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Coming to the some application part, that concept part, I hope you understood that one. Then I'm coming to the some application part. How we develop a decision-making systems using granular concept. As I told you, this granular concept is there almost in different varieties of domains. So based on the domain, we name it accordingly. Okay. If we are working in the fuzzy domain, we call it a fuzzy granule. If you are working in a rough domain, rough set domain, then we call it a rough granule. If you are working in the wavelet domain, we call it a wavelet granule. Like that, in neural domain, we call it a neural granule or granular neurals, like that. And finally, we can do that. As you know, individual methodologies nowadays not performing better. So what we do is that taking the advantage or betterment of two different techniques, the goodness of two different techniques we are taking and merging them. So we are trying to formulate a hybrid techniques. So that same concept we can bring it here also, hybrid granular space. Let us say fuzzy granule and rough granule, you are combining both them. So that granule name will be called as rough fuzzy granule. Okay, so like that we can do that one. Accordingly, based on the domain of working also, you can take the name. If you are working in the time domain, you call it a time granule. If you are working in the frequency domain, you call it a frequency granule. If you are using in a time frequency domain, you name that granule as a time frequency granule. So it's a kind of concept which you can incorporate in your domain, and accordingly you can work on that. Okay. So as I already told you, the main driving force of granular computing is fuzzy set and rough set, and that I'm skipping here and directly coming to the decisions. Okay. Now let us say this. I hope you are understanding the meaning of scatter plot. Okay. So this is the scatter plot of a data set. Now let us say this kind of data is coming to your grid systems, and your grid as a machine is going to provide a decisions. And what kind of decisions it is telling? The data set contains 6 different categories of data. You can understand category 1 to category 6. So these are the symbolic representation of these 6 categories. Okay. Now you just see how your real-time data set looks like. Your real-time data set, which actually coming to a machine or a systems, they are all confused in nature. What do you mean by confused in nature? When the class boundaries of 2 categories are overlapping, we call it as a confused information. So this is the plotting of a scatter plot of a data set. I mean, it's a real-time data set, Howell data set it is called. And just I am trying to show you how difficult it is to take a smart decisions. So to handle these kind of situations, we take the help of granular computing. And we have realized that using this concept of granular computing, we could enhance the information processing systems and get better accuracy. That is what our target is all about. And at the same time, we want to reduce the computation complexity, okay, the time factors. So let us use a fuzzy information granulations to develop a system which can take some kind of certain decisions. Okay, so here I have put two different kind of fuzzy granulations. One is called class dependent granulations, another is called class independent granulations. So what is that class dependent granulation and class independent granulations? Both are fuzzy granules. You keep in your mind that both are fuzzy granules. That means fuzzy set theory is being used to perform the class dependent granulation and class independent granulation. So what is that? I'm just showing one figure here. Just try to understand here. This is actually a scatter plot. Okay, so this is your F1 axis and this is your F2 axis. That means this is the feature 1 and this is feature 2. Okay, and this data set contains 4 classes or 4 categories: C1, C2, C3, C4. Okay, now what I am doing here is that I am trying to granulate the information in feature 1 and in feature 2 using fuzzy set theory. And what I am doing, I am performing 2 different kind of fuzzy granulations. One is class dependent and another one is class independent. Now see, what is the difference between that? In class independent granulation, you see this lower one. In class independent granulations, how many fuzzy functions are used here? How many membership functions are used here? 3. That means the whole data set are now partitions with respect to feature 1 with 3 membership functions. Let me repeat. The whole data set is now partitioned. What you are partitioning? You are not partitioning the data set. The information in the data set you are partitioning. So the information in the whole data set, that means the 4 class data set, is now partitioned with respect to feature 1 using 3 membership function, and that is what your class independent relation. That means it is independent of your class information. Just look at this class dependent relation. Here, how many fuzzy sets are used here? One fuzzy set for each of the classes. That means you are trying to partitioning the information of each class with one fuzzy set. That means your information's breaking or information granulation each with respect to your class. So that is why we are naming it as a class dependent granulation, and this one is a class independent granulations. These are all we are doing for feature 1, and the same thing we can do for feature 2 also. So what we did originally, all the data sets were having 2 features. Now after performing granulations, how many features we would get? For class independent, it is 3 and 3, 6. So 2 features became 6 features, and for class dependent, it became 8 features. Originally 2 features. Each features were broken into either 3 or 4 features. So finally, you are ending up with the 6 features and 8 features. So what actually we are trying to get here? The informations, whatever it was there originally in either F1 or F2, we expanded the informations. The way we expanded, I gave you an example, right? The age informations. Age is the broader sense, and the date of the birth is the smallest information. This is the expanded form. Okay. So like that, we broke that informations using the class dependent and class independent granulations. Okay, and by that process, actually we are enhancing the dimensions of the informations. We are enhancing the informations contains. You keep in mind that after breaking that informations, actually we are not enhancing the informations. What we are doing, you are breaking the information in such a way that that information will be understood to us. We are unable to understand the information earlier when it was in F1 and F2, but after breaking, we could understand the information. That is what the purpose of granular computing. Now, after breaking the informations, let me put one more figure here. The concept of granulations. Okay, so this is the granular space. What is the F1 and F2? Okay, we could break them. Let us say if you are using class dependent granulations, in the x-axis 4 breaking and in y-axis 4 breaking. So if I merge them, if I make a cross checking, how many partitions I could get? 16 partitions. That means originally 2 features are forming 16 number of features. Out of that 16 number of features, how many features you will take, that depends on you. Okay. So what is that actually I'm doing? Originally I had n feature. I believe you are understanding these terminologies. Pattern recognitions, what is a pattern, what is a vector, what is a features, and all this. Okay. So each feature is expanded with either class dependent way or either class dependent way. That means we are expanding the feature space. For what reason? To understand the information within the feature in a better way. Okay. So I'm just skipping this part and I'm coming to the modeling part. So here we are developing a classification model, which is actually a decision making process or decision making systems, which we are going to put that in your smart grid system, and your smart grid will start answering the questions or providing the solutions in a smarter way. This is what actually is happening in your smart grid systems. Whenever there is automatic systems works, whenever there is a smart answers comes from the input, this is the processing happens. And as I told you, there are 3 different spaces in pattern recognition principle while you are taking a decision. One is measurement space, one is feature space, another one is decision space. Okay, so that is what you are doing here. So input pattern is coming, that means input information is coming, which is not understandable properly, because most of the time it happens. Most of the time, given a task, we are unable to understand what is the task is asking for. Okay, so what do? We granulate them, break them, divide and conquer rule. We break them using granular computing concept. Okay, I already told you, when you are breaking the informations, there is every possibility is that there is introduction of noise and uncertainty, or redundant factor comes into the pictures, because you will never understand in what way you should break the informations. We should break, what will be the size of your granule in breaking. Okay, so to avoid that redundancy factor, to avoid that noise factor, to avoid that impreciseness factor, we use here one feature selections algorithms. Here it is used offset theory, you can use any other thing. Okay, so after that one, you come to here, and here you develop the model, and which will give you the output. So this model can be used in any decision making process, whether it's coming from the medical domain or telecom domain or your power system domain or whatever it is. So if you put this model in your smart grid system, your smart grid system will start providing the smart decisions given a task. Okay, so actually this is applied on some particular domain that is called remote sensing, that I will show you the result part only, that accuracy part. I will not show the problem part because that is not the point of discussion here. You can put this problem model in your particular domain, like smart grid systems. Okay, so I'm just coming to the this one model. Now see, we have developed 5 models here. We have developed 5 models here. Now what actually you are seeing, or what is the difference between these 5 models? In these models, we are using the same classification model or classifier that is called K nearest neighborhood classifier. I hope you are understanding what is the meaning of KNN classifier. Okay. So we are using KNN classifier for all these models. So all models should be same. When you are using same classifier for all the model, then the performance of the model should be same. But our contribution here is not to play with the classification model. Our contribution here is to play with the informations. Our contribution is to play with the information which is actually going to the classifier. So sometimes we call it a pre-processing steps. You are pre-processing the informations so that that information will be in a better stage to understand, and so that your classification systems can take a better decisions. Okay. Now you may think about that something like that. Instead of KNN classifier, you can put any other classifier. Doesn't make any difference. I'll show you some results on that one also. So what we did, model 1 is simple KNN classifier with the original features. Model 2 is the class independent granulations with KNN features, KNN classifier. Model 3 is the class dependent granulation with KNN classifier. Model 4 is the class dependent granulations and feature selections with this one, and like that model 5. Now I hope you are understanding these 5 models now. All of them have used same classifier, but they have processed the input information in a different way. Let us see what is happening after doing that one. You see the results. So the accuracy of the model is enhanced just by pre-processing the things without touching the modeling part. Only you have pre-processed the information using the granular concept. Okay, so you just see with the 20% training set and 50% training set how models are performing. Okay, so you can see total computation time. It is obvious that when you are using original features, whatever time your model will take, if you pre-process that information and then you put the classifier, then obviously it will take much time because you are doing some more computations there. So time factor comes into the picture, but with respect to the accuracy, it is very insignificant. Okay. Just another 5 minutes, I'll show you the granular neural network part. Okay. So I'll show you some results like see. As I told you, instead of KNN classifier, you can put some different classifier also, like maximum likelihood classifier, multi-layer perceptron, KNN with different K value. But you will realize that whatever model or whatever classifier you take here, if you perform the pre-processing like this, your model performance will increase. That is what the purpose of this discussion. Okay. And now see. So we have used different kind of models, and we could see that our performance is increasing. Model 5 means this yellow color is model 5. That means using the same model but different processing, pre-processing. Okay. So these are the things. I'm just skipping this one. Okay. Now coming to the point. Now, in our smart grid systems, the most important factor is that the processing has to be performed very quickly. I mean, it should not take much more time to process the information to provide its decisions. Okay, but here the problem here is that in simple granular computing based classification model, you can see all these 5 models have used KNN classifier. Model 1 is taking 323 seconds, and model 5 is taking 350 seconds. So almost there is a difference of 25 seconds. That means your smart grid system has to take 25 seconds to process the information, which is not acceptable. So that is why we come up with a different kind of model that is called granular neural network, which will reduce this computation part drastically. And I'll not talk about much about the granular neural network component part because time is not there. I'll just show you some results here. So using that granular neural network model, we have again developed 5 models. And you just see the classification accuracy. Model 1 is giving 88% and model 5 was giving 91%. Almost there is a difference of 3.5% of accuracies, which is appreciable. Okay. Now we are not interested in this part. We are interested in the time factor. Now let us see the time factor. Model 5 is the proposed model, means this granular neural network model. And it is compared with many classifications model, decision making model. Now see, whenever you are using a neural network, you have to come across the training phase, and it requires number of iterations. So what we have done is that we have taken some 800 iterations for each of the neural network. These are all neural network based component models. Okay, so model 5 is also a neural network based model, but here granular concept is incorporated. Now see, the first model, CR, class resilient, or forget about this one, fuzzy MLP. So it is giving 83% accuracy, whereas model 5 is giving 90% accuracy. So there is an increase of accuracy of around 7%. Okay, let us not talk much about that accuracy part. Even if we are happy with the 83%, but what about the time factor? The time taken by the neural network is 5 seconds, but the time taken by the granular neural network is 0.1 second or maximum 0.2 second, which is very much suitable for your smart grid systems. I believe your smart grid system cannot compromise with the processing time. It has to process the information as fast as possible. So so you can understand how fast it is. Okay, so this is what the advantage of granular neural network, which I didn't talk about the granular network, but the concept I have already given. If you are really interested, I can show some of the references on this granular network which you can implement and use in smart grid systems, and you will see that your smart grid systems are increasing the accuracy, the performance is increasing. At the same time, it is taking very less processing time. So I hope I'll stop here and I could convince the message to all of the participants. And some of the references are here. If you are interested, I can send the PDF file of the references. And so my talk is ending here. If you are having any queries and questions, I can take it now. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, sir. So I request participants, if there are any questions, they can go ahead and mute and ask the question.